Hey guys, it's your boy Seb here. I'm a local real estate broker in San Antonio, Texas. I'll start off this video by just telling you I'm not a licensed attorney and I'm not your broker. If you're an agent watching this and you have questions, you should reach out to your own brokerage. Kind of the topic of discussion over the last year and especially in the last couple of weeks, I'm sure you've seen it in the media, is all these changes to how broker compensation works in real estate sales. The fundamental change is it's decoupled or separated who pays for who. And so if you're a seller, you're going to be able to negotiate your seller's agent fee for selling the house. And that's your own negotiation. If you're a buyer, you're going to do the same thing with your buyer's agent. Previously, the way it worked is a seller would have an agent come over. They potentially were interviewing and they would negotiate an overall fee, which would in turn then be split and shared with a buyer's agent. Whether it was in your brokerage or not, there were certain permissions you needed to have within the listing agreements. And buyer's agreements were pretty much written the same way they're written now, at least here in Texas. They've just changed the wording up a little bit. So bottom line is that whole thing of sharing between the broker to another broker, that was the problem. And so our company has taken a pretty serious position on it. We're not doing cooperating brokerage. That's a whole nother discussion. And this could be really, really messy. So let's focus on the basics. Number one is if you're a buyer, you're going to negotiate with your buyer's agent a fee for their service. Same thing in a separate agreement. The seller will do the same kind of negotiation with their listing agent that's going to help them sell the home. So both parties sign an agreement that's negotiated independently. The second fundamental change is you have to have a signed buyer's representation agreement before you tour a property that's listed on the multiple listing service. And then finally, the third major change is all offers of compensation are no longer visible in the multiple listing service. There's a lot of pros and cons to all that. If you have questions and specifics about how this works, please feel free to contact me. We'll put my contact information at the bottom of this video and a link to all the NAR practice changes in a previous post of mine if you want to get into the details. But that's really it. You got to have an agreement with an agent, and that's the fundamental change that's confusing a lot of people and caused some frantic phone calls to me this weekend from buyers asking questions like, hey, I reached out to the listing agent, or what I thought was the listing agent, on one of these online websites, and they told me before they can show me this property, I'm standing right by the property, why won't they let me in without signing an agreement? That is one of the things that's changed. Some of the companies, the bigger names, you know who they are, they'll get into simplifying the agreement so they're non-exclusive and not really binding, but you just got to be really careful about what you sign. That's why it's important that you hire a professional realtor and have them represent you and understand what you're walking into. So what'll happen is once you have your agreements and you find you tour the properties with your agreements and you find a home that you like, you have to put in an offer on a home. So the second fundamental change is that agreement that you made with the listing agent in the market prior to August 17th, there was that cooperating fee that would automatically go to a buyer's agent or buyer's broker if they brought a qualified buyer. That information is no longer anywhere in the MLS. A seller can choose to offer concessions to a buyer as a credit at closing to help them offset their costs. And that could be advertised. There's also pros and cons to that. I think it's just better to just let people know as a seller that you're open to negotiating. We want to sell our house, bring us an offer, and as long as it's a fair offer, we'll negotiate. From Seb's personal opinion, I'll give you that since you chimed in, and I appreciate you watching this and sticking around. Seb's personal opinion is this has been going on in the commercial industry for years. It's very similar to how farm and ranch transactions work too. The bottom line is bring an offer. Nothing really changes. Our CEO talks about this all the time. If a listing or a buyer's agent calls you as a listing agent and says, hey, is your seller going to come off the price? Is the hot tub included with the sale? We tell the agent on the other line, hey, listen, if it's important to your buyer, put it in the offer. Let's negotiate a deal. And so I think that's really what we're trying to do. Is nobody's coming to the table with preset terms and conditions of how this system norm was created over the last 25 years. Is it better? Is it worse? I think, one of my coaches gave a great example, but think about it like a rock going into a pond. Initially, it feels like it's a bigger wave, and then it ripples out, and then eventually it turns into crystal clear glass water. There's no movement. And so, what I mean by that is it may seem like it's confusing now, but as we get into this, the next 6 months, year, things will kind of settle out. I'm sure there'll be adjustments made and things that will be learned to make things better. But the bottom line is, our obligation is to be your fiduciary if we represent you. So it's to put your best interests ahead of our own. And so this new model kind of gives everybody a clean slate to be able to negotiate. And honestly, if you're a seller, I'll leave you on this one. Don't show all your cards up front, but be fair and understand that, there are buyers out there that need help. So if you guys have any questions about this, I really appreciate you tuning in and watching this. I'm doing this not just for the general public. I have a lot of you guys that are faithful fans and supporters, and in my sphere of influence that I know every time I go to an event, you guys corner me and start asking me about how this will affect you. So hopefully this will give you some context and at least let you know that we figured it out. We're not scared about this. We like to negotiate. This isn't going to be a big deal in the grand scheme of things. We're just trying to figure out how to serve our clients well. So if you have specific questions, feel free to give me a call. Again, my personal details are below. Most of you watching this will already have me saved on your phone. So I look forward to hearing from you. And thanks again. Talk to you guys later.